cardboard sea. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Yes, it's only a canvas sky hanging over a muslin tree. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me.
Good evening and happy Juneteenth. I'm going to share some work from my hybrid historical fiction project titled Beryl, the Theatrical Pursuit of a Family, generously supported by the COLA Artist Grant Program. My work spans decades and locations, but focuses on Los Angeles in the early 20th and eventually will include 21st century narrative. My inspiration is my family, our life and origins here in this beloved, complicated Los Angeles metropolitan. I imagine into my great-grandmother Beryl Mercer's passage from London to New York to Los Angeles at the turn of the 20th century. Despite her remarkable work as a child actor and renowned adult thespian in Victorian England, and her later success on Broadway, leading to notable performances in Oscar-winning classic Hollywood films of the 1920s and 30s, her story was often silenced in my familial circles. But the truth is, my family would not have thrived and flourished here if not for my great-grandmother Beryl Mercer's achievements. Most of the pieces I'm reading this evening and are heard in the voice of Joan, my grandmother, at various stages of her development as a teen and young woman growing up in Los Angeles and being raised by Beryl, her mother, and my great-grandmother. True story. Joan was issued a driver's license at age 13 so she could drive her mother, Beryl Mercer, to the movie studios across town because at 4 feet 11 inches, her mother's feet could not reach the pedals of their Packard automobile. Beryl, Los Angeles, 1931, spoken by her daughter, Joan. She gets the heat and radio going in the Packard, tunes her mind to the direction of performing. This film has drinking, gambling, guns, and lovely malls, glorified prostitutes, often abused, demeaning and hypocritical, says Mother, who keeps to herself a conservative lifestyle but detests people hopping on their high moral horses. Nervous about working opposite Cagney, though she's been trotting the board since she was 5 and knows 9 languages. This role is one for the cinema vaults, she says, and barely sleeps. Now she's guzzling coffee from a Javalia thermos Noel Coward gave her back in New York when she was on Broadway. A long while ago, but not as long as her sad marriage to Lord Paisley. And there's my abandoned half-sister left with relatives in rural England. It's more than my poor mama can bear, so she concentrates on my driving her to set and finishing the film. She's muttering lines and it's not even sunrise. The moon is a shiny ball, the face of a guiding goddess, a light from Jesus. She's a believer, but not traditional religious. A challenge getting her in and out of the passenger seat, if not for the running board. She's gotten mileage out of being short. She's no glamour girl, a bona fide character actress since forever, playing boy parts back on London stages. But it's the buxom siren gets respect in this town, says Mother. Then they seek to destroy you. Her voice goes quiet, anger stiff, an oil well of tears ready to erupt. Your father was never, no matter how much She waves the air like she can't be bothered, like brushing gnats off her face. With her squat stature, ocean liner hips, the big brown spigots of her eyes, that glum, faraway look, as one journalist put it, the long-suffering matriarch description sure fits. In the half-dark, she's mouthing words like she's praying or crazy. Gaze fixed road forward. Where does she go? Back to the family lost in England? The child left there? Or my sickly brother who never made it past a New Jersey polio crib? Maybe she's thinking about the old apartment behind Musso and Frank, when there was still hope for Father staying faithful. Maybe all the ghosts are there as she hunkers down at the restaurant's dark-paneled bar with Garbo, Hepburn, Pickford, and leaning into the microphone of her skewered olives, tells them how it really was, just how thirsty a girl could get. Joan spent a fair amount of time with her father, actor Holmes Herbert, though her parents were separated early on in their Hollywood careers. This chapter imagines Joan at the former Chateau Élysée, a grand sort of replica of a 17th century French Normandy villa on Franklin Avenue in Hollywood, now the home of the Scientology Celebrity Center. She's 12 years old, and her father has taken her to a big premiere party there where she's expected to play the violin. Metropolis. Joan at the Chateau Élysée, 1929, Hollywood. By the time they are ready for me to rehearse on the rooftop, I've already eaten 2 plates of sand dabs smothered in lemon butter sauce and a mountain of croquembouche eclairs. I can't help it. I'm getting nervous waiting for my turn under the stage lights, and I don't have anyone to talk to, being the youngest person here. So I wander around, grazing the buffet tables and bar for refills on my very cherry Shirley Temple. I can't resist caramel-covered puffs, and these are delicious. Mother loves them too. We prefer custards and puddings to chocolate and lemon desserts, anything with vanilla and cream. Once, at Christmas time, we tried to make a croquembouche ourselves. That was a disaster. We couldn't get the choux pastry to pop and ended up with sad silver dollar-sized discs like blobs of pale poop. But the topiaries of glistening golden puffs at this party are from a fairy tale. Whole forest rows of them dusted with snowy powdered sugar ripe for the plucking, which is precisely what I do, licking sticky toffee threads off my fingers when no one is looking. Finally, I head to the bathroom to wash my hands and powder my nose, though I don't wear makeup yet. It's almost time for the Paganini, and I should find a quiet room where I can tune my strings and warm up my hands. I get my violin from the hat check girl and wander a long hallway where there aren't so many people. At the end, I find a library study room. Lots of dark wood and green velvet curtains, enormous gold and black rugs with long red geometric knot shapes that remind me of Metropolis, the film Father took me to see for my 10th birthday. I'm just pulling my violin from its case and sliding a rosin block along the bow when the door opens and a man with a camera tripod enters. The wall sconces flicker amber yellow up the polished paneling, but the room is dim and it's difficult to see. He's got a dark hat like Father wears sometimes when it's raining and doesn't care what happens to it, pulled down as this man does to shield half his face. His suit is navy or black and, like his white shirt, tired, wrinkly. Below his chin, his tie hangs loose like he's too hot, so I'm not surprised when he comes close into the light and I see his skin is damp and ruddy. He pats out a cigarette from a pack in his pocket and lights it.
"You must be Joni,"
he says, exhaling a long trail of smoke breath. I'm forced to swallow and turn away from the odor of his mouth. Don't people know better than to consume booze, plates of cheese, and top off the whole disgusting menu with a brick of cigarettes? I'm Joan, I say. No one calls me Joni except my family. Then I realize Father sent him to take my picture. Can't we shoot these after the recital, I plead? But my voice winds high and catches in my throat. I'm nervous enough. The lighting in here is eerie anyway, don't you think? My mother knows a thing or two about photography, but he's very close now, and I can't finish what I was saying about Mother being a photographer, even though it's true, she's a serious amateur. My head feels swimmy when he says,
"I'm Bert, Joni. Good to meet you, kid."
I back up because I'm pretty sure his sweaty, pocked nose is about to touch mine, but the enormous desk hits the back of my thighs and I'm trapped. And if I move any more, I'll be bent backwards over it.
Your father sent me to snap a few stills, posed with your violin.
I want to mention Mother's name and how Stieglitz is going to photograph her next time he meets with her colleague, Ms. Garbo. But suddenly this Bert character is touching the front of my dress, messing with the lace, running his fingers along the half-moon circle of the folds, like it's something he's got to do. Like I can't adjust my lapel myself. What are you doing? I groan. My mouth makes a weird grimace.
There you go, sweetie,
answers Bert, pulling back to look me over as if what he just did was a big nothing and I'm overreacting.
You're going to be a knockout.
He reaches in his pocket for a stick of gum, unwraps it with one hand, his other paw hooked on my collar, still fussing with it, though clearly it's just an excuse for that fingertip to creep up and stroke my neck and collarbone. I'm hot and tingly and feel acid rise in my throat.
Stick of Wrigley's? Joni, huh? A little chewing gum might help you relax. Spearmint? Or maybe a sip of this?
He tilts his head toward the brandy decanter on the desk.
Oh, that jaw. Your face. So you don't look frozen like a statue.
Where did Father find this guy? Maybe through his bookie I'm not supposed to know about. Or he owed someone a favor, got a deal. And then, like he's reading my mind, Bert says,
I'm sure your father wants to see your natural exuberance come through.
He's talking fast now, like he can't catch his breath.
I hear you're hoping to go into pictures yourself.
I want to scream, but no words come. It's like I'm under Bert's stinky, evil spell, and the room is one big spiraling nightmare of shadows, spitting candles, the metropolis rug patterns, dark walls, and gargantuan leather chairs. The paintings of half-naked damsels in diaphanous pastel gowns looking terrified. The men on horses with swords, flanked by rabid dogs flashing their fangs like teeth. Bookcases thick with worn, cracked spines stacked to the ceiling. I imagine one of those bookcases lurching open any second, and me being spirited away by the hooded men and freakish automaton people, lost forever, never to be found in the dungeon depths of Eleanor Ince's chateau. Then something happens that hasn't happened for a long time. Not since Father took me on a ride on the Wonder Wheel at Coney Island right after I'd eaten 2 Nathan's hot dogs, a bag of popcorn, and 2 cups of clam chowder topped off with strawberry ice cream soda. I feel my head detaching from my body and I can't control my neck. My eyes somersault in their sockets. The room spins. I'm deep breathing through my nose, focusing hard on the floor on Mother's Edwardian rhinestone buckles she gave me to wear tonight. But when I look up, the massive spooky bookshelves suddenly crank apart. The crack of darkness widening until a gigantic glowing figure emerges. Oh my God, it's Maria, the mad robot lady from Mr. Lang's movie I saw with Father. She's surrounded by a sea of men in coattails and black satin top hats, their expressions lewd, terrible, twisted. Combined, they have 8 arms and 16 meaty, hairy hands, all reaching up to grab at the robot lady whose mouth and neck and body, also her nipples, are shooting billows of white steam. The men look equally insane, and their teeth gnash open and close like ravenous animals to the rhythm of robot Maria swishing her hips in loopy figure 8s. Beneath the men's feet, piles of dead children in skimpy rags and torn dresses lie stacked on top of each other, their tongues dangling from their shocked open mouths, like they'd be a choir singing if they weren't ashen and rigor mortis, their eyes wide and corpse-like. My stomach rumbles, an unhappy soup of food jumbling around the grinding gears of my insides. I look up to Maria making an enormous, angry, screaming face, minus sound, an anguished monster, furious and in excruciating pain, when her eyes suddenly burst into flames. I sense a volcano of sand dabs, cherries, custards, cream, and croquembouche pastry surge from the vault of my stomach, leaping like a sick beast from my throat right onto Bert. The putrid wave heaved up all over his sloppy shirt and tie. I am not your whore of Babylon, you jerk! I hear myself scream, though I have no idea where that came from. Maria's line from the movie? A nightmare blur. Bert jumps back like I just rammed him with the Packard I'm learning to drive, which I totally will if I ever see him on my street, I swear, no matter how mad Father gets when he hears about this incident.
What the hell?
Bert roars.
You little bitch.
But I'm already at the door, having grabbed my violin case and on the way out, whacked Bert's stupid camera and tripod over for good measure. I yanked the knob, and a rush of laughter and loud voices from the party, cackling women and thunderous men, mixed with high-pitched squeals from the spirited younger set, hits me hard, and I swoon. The house is packed, the evening in full swing. I know I'm supposed to be somewhere performing for the guests soon, but what and where? The roof? Every part of me shakes, crumbling like an old dried block of rosin. I barely remember who I am and how I got here. How on earth will I play the Paganini? The character of Julio Guzman is a close childhood friend Joan grows up with. Julio's father, Raul, wife Edmunda, and sister Viviana own and run a thriving meat and produce market across town in Highland Park, and have been making deliveries to and spending time at Joan's house in the Palisades since she was a young girl. The Sweep. On February 26, 1931, immigration agents sealed off the La Placita Catholic Church in downtown Los Angeles before anyone could realize what was happening and began arresting suspected undocumented immigrants en masse. 600,000 Mexican Americans across the U.S. were eventually illegally deported. Julio, 1931.
Mrs. Mercer had that sad look cloud over her when Pappy and I came by with her meat order a few days after the sweep. With it, a loaf of Mama's sweet anise bread that Mrs. Mercer loves. She hugged Pappy, and a great gulping sound heaved up between them. She handed me an envelope with cash in it and whimpered, "Your family is always welcome here. We will get this sorted. We will get Edmunda and Vivi back." Her throat made a choking sound again. I could barely understand. But it didn't matter. I knew that maybe she has no idea. "We know some lawyers," she said. Her lips trembled like little earthquakes going on inside. Like last year when the ground shook and Pappy said it was because so much pinche drilling for crudo around the city. Mrs. Mercer sipped from her rose teacup. We were in the kitchen, and the saucer trembled when she set it back down on the counter. I couldn't help moving to catch it. And then her voice trailed off, and she turned and disappeared into the pantry, dark, without switching the light on. I could see her small, round shape hunched over, fingertips touched to the canned goods shelf to steady herself. She half collapsed onto a stool, her big black shawl draped around, like a cross between a death figure from my comic books and that sculpture by Rodin I learned about in school, The Thinker. Pappy and I nodded at Mrs. Mercer's pantry shadow and silently slipped out. It was warm where our shoulders touched, which never happens. You know how many people the bastards rounded up that day barely speak Spanish? That's how many generations, how long they have been here. Assimilating. He emphasized the words snaky S's. Los Angeles, Pappy repeated, hitting each syllable and crunching his eyes shut to keep what welled inside from escaping. I felt dizzy. My arms lifted like little wings. Pfft, he scoffed. City of What angels?
Joan was groomed to be both a stage and cinema performer, like her actor parents. Here we see her at age 16, hanging out at Paramount Studio while her mother shoots the latest film. Backstage with Mr. Dorfman, Paramount Pictures studio lot, Hollywood, 1933. They make me sit here alone in this place that's not even a real dressing room, more of a glorified storage closet for extra costumes, beverage products, toilet tissue, and boxes of typing paper the writers come and pull from unannounced at any time of the day. I try to be nice and not overact when one of them bursts through the door and I'm in the middle of memorizing Keats or struggling to master the Pythagorean theory. I'm not good with math at all, so those interruptions I welcome while I wait for Mother to finish her scenes and come get me. This picture, Supernatural, stars Carol Lombard, who is every bit adorable as you'd expect. She and Mother give standout performances. Everyone on set claps at the end of Mother's takes. She draws her character of Madame Gorgon like a true pro, committing to her art in an otherworldly manner, as if channeling someone. Being an actor feels like one long seance you allow yourself to participate in, says Mother. Though I would add, maybe not when you're eating breakfast or on the toilet or answering the telephone. Other than the nutty writer people who barge in unexpectedly, sometimes Mr. Dorfman stops by to say hello and bring me snacks from the commissary, or if I'm lucky, a box lunch from Cantor's. Hot turkey sandwich with globs of mayo and layers of iceberg lettuce. Crisp and sea glass green, so icy, cold, I think of Alaska or the Alps or Norway, where I've never been, but sometimes attempt to astral project myself to. Walk around and let that ghost white silence swallow me until I blank on who I am. That's what I think about by myself here in this stuffy closet that was depressingly dim until I asked Mr. Dorfman if he could find a lamp or two in props, and he did. He still tutors me a bit when I've missed days at school being a background player on one of Mother's films. He used to be a rising star actor himself, according to Ms. Beasley in costumes. I heard her talking in the restroom with a couple of her gossipy seamstress friends about how Mr. H. axed Phil Dorfman's career when he got caught kissing a man in the parrot porch at the Coconut Grove. A photographer from that horrid Ms. Parsons' sty of sycophants was hiding behind a palm tree and snapped a photo of the two men making out near the canary cages. Mother says she's hideous and ruthless, a real snake. And I agree, even if I don't totally get Mr. Dorfman's preferences when it comes to love, I'm confused most of the time about my own heart, so I guess I'm not one to talk. At the moment, I have 3 objets de mon cœur, and one of them is already married and nearly twice my age, also my distant cousin. Oh, the shame. Well, life is suffering, says Father. And I was sorry about Mr. Dorfman and his squashed career. Terrible. Privacy is sacred, says Mother's friend, Miss Greta Garbo. It's why Mother had to pay $100 recently to some journalist who claimed to have a titillating story on her that Luella the cow would salivate over. Mother fumed for days, barely speaking or eating. She stayed in her room playing Leonore's aria from Beethoven's Fidelio on endless loop until the needle started skipping. When she finally emerged, she was wearing a men's suit of matching midnight blue trousers and coat. Clenched in her fist was a letter and a stamped envelope on her personal Cartier oyster gray stationery. "Take me to Tom's," she said in the most disturbing sotto voce I've ever heard. "I'll pay off the bastard and be done with it." So I drove her fast and straight to her agent in Beverly Hills. We didn't speak of it again. Sometimes to survive, you must adapt and capitulate. That way, Phil, meaning Mr. Dorfman, switched to being a designer, one with real talent, says Mother, and everyone in wardrobe and set design agrees. She hired him as my personal tutor until he got his bearings in production, attending night classes for a year, helping her decorate the new houses she keeps buying in the Palisades. And because of his delicious eye and resilience, I now have 2 beautiful lavender green and gold floral Tiffany lamps to light my study dungeon. They're fakes, of course, but beautiful just the same. I was nibbling the corners of my sandwich, the crisp, watery leaves of lettuce, thinking, as I said before, of spacious, cold places like the tundra and North Pole, of the rabbits camouflaged in all that snow, how my nose is probably pink like a bunny's because it's getting warm in here, when Mr. Dorfman knocked gently at the door and entered with 2 magical lamps. "Here you go, sweetheart," he said, and plopped the colorful fixtures down on a side table, shoving aside bromo bottles the writers require to calm the trenches of their digestive systems. "Oh, so pretty, Phil," I couldn't help shrieking. "Cheers up this hellhole they've got us working in, eh, kid?" he answered. He lets me call him Phil because he's more like a brother, and like I said, I know he's not keen on girls. Aside from the gossipy Ms. Beasley a few years back, there was the time when we were getting ready to leave at the end of one of Mother's shoot days on the film Inspiration. Ms. Garbo suddenly appeared at the door with the most fetching satin dress, a creamy floor-length number with a low draping neckline and asymmetrical hem. She stood inside the threshold smiling that curious, mysterious way of hers. "This should do the trick for you, my dear Mr. Dorfman." I have never seen Phil blush like that, and he bowed his head, tearing up a little as Greta passed the beautiful dress cradled across her slender arms like a fragile baby between them. "Have a good time, darling," she said, pecking him on the cheek, side-eyeing and whispering to him in a serious way as he left, "and be careful." I thought Mr. Dorfman might need mouth-to-mouth the way he couldn't catch his breath, holding the gown up to his tall, skinny body in front of the mirror like it was alive, an enchanted, most precious thing. "Mum's the word, huh, kid?" I nodded hard, like I meant it, making the zip it sign with my fingers across my mouth and crossing my heart. The next morning, I got the feeling the night hadn't gone so great when he arrived late with a huge gauze bandage surgical taped to his left temple and brow. His right eye was puffy and purple, and I gasped when I saw it. "What happened?" But he wouldn't say much, mumbled something about a party, a kind of show in West Hollywood where he dressed up to perform a special song. A great night until later when he headed to his car. Wrong place, wrong time. He stopped short. I think he was crying, but he turned away to rummage his teaching satchel for the day's lesson pages. "I'll make some tea for us," I said, feeling sad for him, a little lost for both of us. "Sounds nice, honey," he answered, turning to wink with his unbruised eye. Later, when I was gathering my tap shoes and leotards for dance class, I saw the cream satin gown on a hook in the corner behind some men's overcoats headed to wardrobe for patching. There were red stains, a few flecks blooming down the garment's left shoulder and neckline like a corsage. Blood chrysanthemums, Ms. Garbo's dress. He'd want to have it cleaned before returning it to her, though I doubt she would care, knowing what ruined it. But I left that to Mr. Dorfman to decide, and we never discussed it again. In this final poem, Beryl speaks from her favorite spot in the canyon garden of her cottage-style house on Via de la Paz in Pacific Palisades after a long day's shooting what would turn out to be her final performance in film. My great-grandmother contemplates her final role in The Hound of the Baskervilles, Pacific Palisades, 1939. I'm drawn to it, closing in on my end, my fleeting turn, my flecked skin and bones folded to dust. Something sinister afoot in the cells that recent reports confirm. No one knows, not even my daughter, who'd worry her baby will never meet its granny. Released from set early, the Klieg-lit sound stage, the made-up glamour of Baskerville Hall, I sigh, happy to hurry home and catch the last gold threads of light from my canyon chair. The violet wisteria, woodsy oaks and coppice, scent of sage and hidden sea mist that wrap me and my sweet boy Pepe, panting in his canine dreams across my lap. His caramel ears and supple coat, a satin comfort beneath chapped hands. I feel old, caught in a land, the bardo between, bittersweet. It's why twilight entices, and I'm getting a little loopy now, like Sir Conan Doyle and his phantoms and fairies, or his fabricated Sherlock yearning for escape, for altered states, and a mania for music, for pharmaceutical flight, and hunts for the criminal mind pinned. As for my last role and fading vigor, I'm perfectly cast as the witless psychic Mrs. Mortimer, though no one got wind of my looming demise. Still, hearts play their lot in finding you, torn by time and tossed to leaves of brute chance like limbs and mystical snakes to water. Now memory spirals and comes clawing back to cohere. Suddenly Doyle, his mad logic, his broke heart's longing for what he lost, I believe it. Sons, daughters, brothers, lovers, it makes sense. Conjured on paper, thin as air. These shadows scribbled out, unedited by death, but imagined here forever, through lines and lives revived, lighting the only way home in my mind.